Ever since his All Elite Wrestling departure in early September, fans have speculated that CM Punk could be making his WWE return at Survivor Series in his hometown of Chicago. However, all reports suggested that talks were not on the cards and that a debut was extremely unlikely, this unless it was the best kept secret in wrestling, and boy, it was just that. Fast forward to last night, it was teased that the returning Randy Orton, who was the fifth and final member of the men's War Games babyface team, was yet to arrive at the building, something that immediately led to CM Punk chants and online talk that this was an angle that could lead to the Second City Saints stepping into the spot instead. As the match rolled on, there would still be no sign of the Viper, this until the final entrant was due. When the clock struck 0, it was Rhea Ripley's music that played, who ran out with Damian Priest's Money in the Bank briefcase, providing an opportunity to attempt to cash in on the downed World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. The cash-in would then be interrupted by Randy Orton's Voices entrance music as he made his way to the ring to initiate the final stretch of War Games. Orton's appearance would all but end any hopes of a CM Punk return, which would confirm prior reports that he wouldn't be at the show, but Triple H still had an ace up his sleeve. As the babyface team secured a victory after a flurry of finishing maneuvers, they would celebrate as the copyright symbol appeared on the screen, something that usually indicates the end of the show. However, the infamous static would strike as Cult of Personality filled the All-State Arena to the surprise of every viewer watching. Punk would then come out onto the entranceway, embracing the front row of his hometown crowd before screaming into the air as Survivor Series faded to black. So before we get into how this happened, let's cover a couple of interesting points regarding the reaction from those in the company after the trigger was pulled to sign the most divisive name in the business. The reaction from Seth Rollins immediately created headlines as fan footage has shown that he was visibly angry at CM Punk, with him being restrained by several members of the WWE staff. This was something not shown on television. This comes after recent negative comments made towards Punk in interviews, where he labelled him a cancer whilst telling him to stay away from WWE. According to Fightful Select, when Seth got backstage, he was said to have been ushered away by Triple H. This whilst a confused CM Punk looked on. They were unable to confirm if this was a genuine reaction, however. The report does note that we should be cognizant of the fact that this could be part of a work towards a potential storyline in the future, which I personally do think is the most likely possibility, something we could see play out tonight on Monday Night Raw, where Punk is expected to appear. It's also important to note that the talent in the main event were briefed ahead of time that Punk would be appearing after the match, so it's not like this caught Rollins off guard by any means. Another name said to be upset by Punk's arrival is Drew McIntyre, who rushed to the backstage area before Punk came out, unlike the rest of his teammates from the Judgment Day. Whilst we don't know if this was linked to him knowing Punk was set to arrive, what we do know is that Drew and Damian Priest had a storyline falling out during the match, which could explain why he was seen leaving immediately after the bell. Going back to the Fightful Select report, Drew was then said to have been visibly upset when leaving the building, but they would add that this was related to things broader than CM Punk. It should be noted that the reactions weren't all bad, as Punk is said to have been greeted by several friends from within the company when he returned backstage, and many of the reactions were filmed, potentially for digital content or maybe a later documentary. So now that we know what went down, let's find out how it happened, and what exactly has changed for CM Punk to return to WWE despite his well-documented fractured past with the company. Well, one of Punk's biggest gripes was the handling of business by Vince McMahon, somebody who is of course no longer in charge of the company, particularly from a creative standpoint. Another key issue Punk had with WWE was their handling of medical issues, with him name-dropping Chris Amman, WWE's then doctor, and the person that sued Punk for defamation, a case that Punk won. Amman left WWE in September 2022, meaning this issue is no longer present. And thirdly, and most critically, he had heat with now head of creative Triple H prior to his WWE exit, and it would appear that this beef has been squashed. Fightful Select have reported that the two men sat down with each other last week, a conversation that was described as very productive, meaning this issue is no longer a problem. The fact that the surprise was kept so close to the vest match will certainly go a long way towards healing any potential wounds from the past, and it will only build an extra layer of trust off the bat. As for the deal itself, PW Insider have noted that once the ice was broken, the deal came together very quickly, and they've described CM Punk's WWE contract as several years in length, and talks only began over the course of the past week. The initial idea was for Punk to return at the Royal Rumble in January instead. However, the feeling was that the longer they waited, the more likely it was to leak from within the company, with them instead pivoting towards a quick return last night in Chicago. With Punk living just 20 minutes away from the building, they were able to act fast and make it happen to make it a surprise, helped by previous denials to the media that he was not WWE bound. Whilst the reports were true at the time and that a return wasn't in the works until the last minute, things quickly changed and he signed with the company the day of the show. Speaking on how the deal came together, Triple H would take to the post-show media scrum to note,
"This came together super quick, which I'm sure is why it stayed very tight. There's a lot of speculation. At that point, it was nothing but speculation. For most of the time, it was speculation. It didn't really start to come to fruition until everybody stopped thinking it was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, it was happening. A lot of time has gone by, almost 10 years, right? And if you are the same person you were 10 years ago, 10 years later, you've messed up. Everybody grows. Everybody changes. I'm a different person. He's a different person. This is a different company, and we're all on the same even starting ground. What's next for CM Punk? That'll be interesting, won't it? Yeah, I'm interested to see that myself.
Regarding if the decision was made by WWE themselves or their parent company Endeavor, Triple H would confirm that it was up to himself and Nick Khan, and he would say,
"Zero push from anybody past WWE, myself, Nick Khan. To be honest, very few people knew about it past that. It's a funny thing now because all of a sudden there's like this mystery entity and we're trusted to do our thing and trusted to do what we feel is right for business. And I gotta be honest, probably the top people at TKO were watching the show going, holy, yeah, it was a good thing, right? It's a crazy, cool time right now in WWE. I think fans can feel that. There's a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, and I'm ready. Let's run through a wall. You know what I mean? Let's do this and do it in the biggest way possible and just keep building on what Vince McMahon made into a global juggernaut for 50 years. If I have anything to do with it, have any say in it, we're going to make it bigger than it's ever been before."
Another name asked about CM Punk at the press conference was fellow AEW alumni Cody Rhodes, who's been open about his friendship with the straight edge superstar during their run together as All Elite. Cody would say that as long as Punk is here to help, he's on board, and he would add,
"If he can help with where we're going and what we're doing, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard." And I have a feeling that the CM Punk that potentially we're getting is hungry. And that's the best. When someone's hungry, when somebody wants something, when it's real. You could ask all the boys and girls till they're blue in the face, "Hey, how do you feel?" You might get up, you might get down, a wide range of emotions, but the first thing always is business. Again, we're doing record business. Feels like everybody wants to be here. More the merrier. If you can help, absolutely, come on board.
Regardless of who you blame for the CM Punk situation in AEW, whether that be Tony Khan, the Elite, or Punk himself, it's undeniable that the way many people look at him isn't the same as it was when he arrived, with him now having a second chance to show who he really is and what he can truly bring to the business. Will he be able to prove to fans that he wasn't the issue in AEW by staying out of trouble, or will it be a case of those in AEW telling you they told you so? Can Punk show that he was the professional in the situation and was willing to work with those he had issues with on screen to create fascinating television, something that the Young Bucks seemingly weren't open to doing? He already took some steps towards proving this by making amends with Triple H, one of his most bitter rivals, and now has the opportunity to do the same with Seth Rollins if that's the direction going forward. Regardless of where you stand, it's time for CM Punk to cement his legacy in a positive way, and now the pressure's on to deliver a home run in the final innings of his illustrious career. As for what his future could have held, it's been reported by PW Insider that TNA Wrestling made an effort to sign the Second City Saint ahead of his WWE return. However, obviously, a deal wasn't able to be reached, and they would also detail whether an AEW return was ever on the cards, and the site would note, The WWE conversations began less than a week ago. Until that point, Impact Wrestling had made a major money offer to Punk. In speaking to Impact sources after Punk's WWE return, we are told that Punk was amazing in his dealings with top Impact execs. Impact sources felt they were very close to scoring Punk at one point, hoped he would even be at Bound for Glory as part of the unveiling of the return of TNA, which did not happen. The conversations between the two sides continued after that pay-per-view. While the company had hoped Punk would come in there full time, they realized the reality of the situation involving WWE and how much money could be made, and were happy for Punk. We also heard from several Impact talents overnight who said they were appreciative of the time and advice Punk had spent with them at several tapings in Chicago when he visited. PW Insider would also confirm that following his termination, there was never any talk over a potential return to AEW, and that there were no plans for him to be revealed as the devil that's been haunting MJF, likely leaving Jack Perry and Adam Cole as the two remaining key suspects. But what do you make of CM Punk's huge return to WWE? Did AEW make the right decision in letting him go? Did CM Punk make the right decision in turning TNA down for WWE? And did WWE make the right decision in re-signing him? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 facts that MJF doesn't want you to know.